Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, a very warm welcome to each one of you. We are all set to go ahead with the proceedings of the next session, and we sincerely hope everyone enjoyed the sumptuous lunch served to us by the hotel organized by the organizers of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going ahead with the proceedings of the next session. The next session is a technical session on PM Vani and open roaming, the catalyst for ubiquitous connectivity. We would like to invite our session chair and keynote speaker for this session, Dr. Pankaj Dalela, Director C-DOT. A very warm welcome to you, sir. You may kindly grace the stage. Inviting our eminent speakers to join us, Mr. Vivek Dua, ITS, Principal General Manager, Corporate Office, BSNL. I invite Mr. Nikhil Sharma, Director, New Technologies, BIOM. I invite Mr. Steve Namasivayam, Vice President, Memberships and Industry Engagement, Wireless Broadband Alliance. I invite Ms. Arpita Kanjilal, Head of Research and Communications Division, Digital Empowerment Foundation. उसको कॉल करना स्पीकर को वो ना चेयर स्टेज पे आ गए हैं. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, we are running behind schedule. We have just about an hour for this session, which includes presentations by all of our eminent speakers for 10 minutes each, opening address and keynote address by our distinguished chairperson. And we would like to inform everybody that we will have question and answers after all the presentations are over, if the time permits. And for the benefit of our eminent speakers, we have the timer in front of you. Can we have a buzzer after 9 minutes so that all our speakers know? When only 1 minute is left, we will be ringing a buzzer so that to warn the speakers that only 1 minute is left for them. And we will have, once again, I would like to repeat, question and answers after all the presentations are over. We may not be able to take question and answer after each presentation, as we may run out of time and would not be fair for other speakers. Joining us, we welcome you, Ms. Arpita Kanjilal, warm welcome. She's Head of Research and Communications Division, Digital Empowerment Foundation. And may I request our session chair, Dr. Pankaj Dalela, Director C-DOT, to kindly begin the proceedings with your keynote and opening address, sir, and take over the proceedings of the session. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, in India as well as everywhere, the complete common man or citizen is connected to each other and with the services through cellular communication, primarily 4G, 5G. In a country like India, where we have a 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G from various OEMs, complete digital India and our lot of government scheme, be it a Jan Dhan Yojana or subsidy Yojana or ration distribution, it depends on digital connectivity. So, looking into the fact, in India we have a highest spectrum cost. The subscriber density per tower is highest in India. We have a lowest ARPU. At the same time, we have largest call drop in comparison to developed countries. So the success of government schemes, Digital India, depends on connectivity, especially this affordable internet access, and that can be given through public Wi-Fi systems. So if you see this PM Vani scheme, which is launched by Government of India, where we have 100 plus app providers, 200 plus PDOAs, aggregators, 4 lakh plus access point PDOs, but still only 2.5 crore citizens have utilized this service. In terms of data consumptions, we have consumed around 58 petabytes of data. Out of 140 crore population, only 2.5 crores users. So this is very less. So what from government side we find out, what are the issues? Primarily there is 3 stakeholders. One, the user, which is a common man, who is primarily deprived of digital connectivity, or they cannot afford to have, everybody can't afford to have that costly cellular connections and that handsets. Another one is this service provider. Telecom service provider, internet service provider is at one place. Another side is the person who is providing this PM Vani or this internet access connections, be it a PDOS like or PDOs. Third one is the backhaul, which is being provided by TSPs and ISPs. So we dig down and we found why less people in comparison to complete population is beneficiary of such a scheme, while it is such a wonderful scheme. Then we narrowed down to affordability and availability. Government of India through DOT, we are research wing under Department of Telecommunication. So the primarily 2 regions, one is its seamless roaming, and then utilization of the token which you have taken across all PDOAs, it was not accepted. So user friendliness and user experience was poor. Now we are trying to address that in its enhanced version. So DOT is working in that direction. Another side, looking into today's geopolitical scenario, if you see, then anybody can become PDOAs if he certifies certain conditions. He can apply for that. He take this PDOA stack and put that either in some servers or in some cloud. And then different PDOAs can be connected based on their onboarding willingness to PDOAs, and then subscriber take benefit out of that. So in today's scenario, that cloud or this connected world, their security, user data, their security data, this is of paramount importance. We found certain gaps. I'm not saying they are not using those security directives. They are using, but whatever gaps we found, we are in the process of eliminating, fixing those things in phase 2 of PM1E. Overall, this public Wi-Fi is also being utilized for, as per 3GPP standards, cellular offloading of 4G and 5G to this Wi-Fi. So it is beneficiary to all the three persons. One, our TSP ISPs offloading of their spectrum. Then it's a business case for PDOAs and PDOs. And of course, our common citizens is getting digital connectivity for taking benefits of government schemes. So in totality, we are trying to address that. And in PM1E phase 2, we are in the process so that it becomes business case also for everyone. And ultimately, user experience should be better. And government schemes and digital India will grow through these infrastructures. So with these words, I will stop myself. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for the opening and keynote address. And may I now hand over to you, sir, to kindly carry forward the proceedings of the session, inviting eminent speakers for their presentations. The first presentation, Mr. Vivek Dua, ITS, Principal General Manager, Corporate Office, BSNL. He's not here. So we move on to the next presentation, for which I would like to invite Mr. Nikhil Sharma, Director New Technologies Beyond. And like I already announced, we will have question and answers in the end after all the presentations are over. So over to you, sir.
Very good afternoon. I know post-lunch sessions aren't usually that exciting. Everyone's a bit slow. I myself have been guilty of that, but I won't take up much of your time, and I'll try to keep it short and simple. Yeah. As you're all aware, today's presentation is around PM1E and seeing how open roaming can kind of act as a catalyst for growth. Essentially, look, we're all aligned on the goal. Ubiquitous connectivity is what we want. We have like a mixed bag of things here. The mixed bag is that, there's some good news, there's some not so good news. The good news is WANI works. We already have been able to provide at Vyom internet for as low as 5 rupees. So it works. The not so good news, the numbers aren't that great. It's only 4.1 lakh hotspots, right? We have an ambition to grow it up to 10 million, but I think earlier today I heard a figure much, much higher. So probably that will be revised. The other good news is that, look, we have all of the rails, right? We have Aadhaar, we have UPI, we also have BharatNet. So the rails are there. What we really need to align on is how we get there and make it happen. A little backstory. I joined Vyom around slightly more than a year ago. And as with any product company, we have what we call user personas. We had a user persona for the average WANI user. The persona was called Sharma Ji Ka Ladka. So much to my surprise, I happen to be Sharma Ji Ka Ladka. We dug a little deeper. We saw that no, it's not just Sharma ji ka ladka. And we have two slightly different user personas here. We have Aarti, who happens to be an upwardly mobile user. She may travel throughout the city all day, usually has mobile data available. She will hop between hotspots, and she would really appreciate not having to relog in again, right? So roaming is a great convenience for an Aarti, right? We also have a Ramesh. Ramesh is a data-deprived user. Ramesh knows of a few spots where he frequents. He's very price sensitive, has a tight budget, usually also accompanied by a budget smartphone, yeah? Now, for him, roaming is a bonus, right? It's not the barrier for him. Now, what do we want to achieve? Roaming is great in intent, right? At the same time, we have to make sure that it's inclusive in nature. It can enable an Aarti, but it should not exclude a Ramesh. How can we get there, right? Of course, this is what we all want, right? You should be able to connect anywhere. You should be able to pass your identity because you already have one. And that should get passed on to all of the players that operate in the space, right? Now, there are multiple pathways. We actually have been working on looking at a pathway that actually leverages the central repository, the registry that's already maintained by CDOT, right? This can be cookie-based. And we can have even an app-enabled pathway which basically passes these credentials. That was the original intent of the WANI framework. At the same time, you have different protocols, such as IEEE 802.11u. And riding on top of that protocol, you will have Passpoint, with open roaming acting as the repository there, right? The technology exists, right? What we really need to figure out is how do we sequence things? Again, the hard part is not the technical aspect. You see, we've actually seen this happen not just outside, but here as well. If you look at even things such as intra-circle roaming, the technology exists. Doesn't mean that it's been ubiquitous and adopted everywhere, right? Tech is ready. What we need is alignment, right? We need to figure out how do we have a shared incentivization of working together, becoming more collaborative so that the fruits of this collaboration compounds in nature, right? Again, if it were only a tech problem, we probably would have solved it. What we foresee and how the sequencing pans out is that, look, PDOAs have a shared common goal to collaborate together because WANI proliferation is a win-win for everyone in the ecosystem, right? What we foresee panning out is that for now, we start with bilateral roaming. PDOAs coming together, ensuring that their users can migrate from PDOs belonging to one PDOA to another seamlessly. What we foresee next is, a standardization that's based on a federated logic, right? Lastly, what that will translate into is ubiquitous open roaming. At the same time, what we want to refrain from is having a single gatekeeper. We want a model that will serve both Aarti and Ramesh. Here's the sequencing, and here's why it matters. Look, getting rapid hotspot deployment is actually the need of the hour, Every single new hotspot that adds there creates density. Density and proliferation must precede roaming because true value of roaming is perceived when there is adequate density. There is no use of establishing roaming for a Ramesh if there are no hotspots to connect to, right? So what we foresee is, let's start with putting in more hotspots and getting affordable internet to everyone today. Let's build on that density. At the same time, let's start working on roaming in parallel. This is not an either-or problem, it's an and problem, right? Let's pursue both together. This is a little thought experiment because at Vyom, I work on new technologies, so we're big on creating these thought experiments. And what we foresee is, what if we could make access universal? The current app-based mandate that exists is slightly exclusionary, especially when you're looking at a Ramesh who has a budget smartphone, usually provisions which apps stay on the phone, which get booted out. A browser-based one-click login process can ease the life of a Ramesh. The second thought experiment involves, and it was mentioned earlier during our opening notes by our guest speakers, that, what if we could just do ISP as a PDOA? This would require no new hardware, and essentially we could turn a network of almost 45 million CPEs into hotspots. Lastly, if we could get an open parity price bandwidth, leveraging the BharatNet ecosystem, that can ensure that costs stay low and we are able to reach even the poorest of poor and underserved rural areas. So if these barriers simply fell away, I think we could see the proliferation of WANI in no time. Just a few takeaways. The 4 themes that we really want you to take back is, let's try to look at an approach that is inclusive by design, focuses on the proliferation and creation of many more such hotspots, so rapid PDO deployment. Let's start talking around bilateral PDOA collaboration, ensuring that we can pave the way towards roaming. And lastly, if all of the 3 happen, what we create is an ecosystem that has a low friction access with roaming built in. Again, earlier today, someone mentioned that PM WANI can be India's next UPI moment. What I personally believe, it is India's UPI moment. All we need to do is work together on this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that insightful presentation, and thank you for concluding it in time. Moving ahead, we would now like to invite our next eminent speaker, Mr. Steve Namasivam, who is the Vice President, Memberships and Industry Engagement, Wireless Broadband Alliance, WBA, for his presentation. Over to you, sir. You have 10 minutes. So.
I will. Okay, so my talk now, I'm going to focus more on PM WANI, open roaming, provide initially a high-level overview of both. And then I want to talk a bit about the adoption rates that we're seeing behind open roaming, and conclude by just talking about some potential next steps as to how open roaming and PM WANI, I think, could be more complementary as well. Okay. Okay. So as we know, PM WANI is I guess, the sort of marketplace, the framework here that creates the infrastructure for public Wi-Fi that came out 6 years ago. Open roaming is a technology standard that my organization, the Wireless Broadband Alliance, has developed. What it does is it enables seamless onboarding onto Wi-Fi, seamless roaming between hotspots. And I think that's a common theme that we're hearing from everybody up on the stage today as well. I think in terms of the common objectives that we have between PM WANI and between open roaming, it is about connecting more people. It is about improving the user experience when it comes to Wi-Fi. So just, I think, talking a little bit more about PM WANI, I think we know the ecosystem of PDOAs, PDOs, app providers, and the central registry. The idea is it's basically enabling low-cost Wi-Fi deployment. It does depend on the adoption, and it has to be driven by entrepreneurs out in the field as well. I think the concept, as we were hearing earlier, is that the idea is to get to millions of hotspots, and I appreciate it hasn't been achieved, but that was the initial idea behind PM WANI when it was created. So as we know, and I've tried it here, but you have this network discovery. You then have the request to enter your mobile information, receive the OTP, and then you're up and running. As I was saying this morning, I think the issues are there's just too much friction. So with every click that you take, you are basically bringing the adoption rate down further and further as well. Open roaming, and I'm not positioning this as competition to PM WANI, it's complementary, as I say. It's a technical framework that allows for seamless onboarding and authentication. It's built on Passpoint technology, so we're not reinventing the wheel. It's a federated access network or framework, so you have trusted identity providers logging on to trusted networks. Every user that is allowed onto the network must be authorized by their identity provider, whether they are enterprises, cities, mobile operators. And we see participation now from operators, enterprises, places, communities across the globe. So quite simply, the user device is there. It has a Passpoint credential that's laid down in it. That part of the federation, and then the identity is recognized and they're connected to the network, okay? So know the different authentication protocols that exist, if you're familiar with EAP, TTLS, so certificate-based as well as SIM-based. So as you see, no requirement for captive portals. We don't allow pre-shared keys, no open networks, no manual login, it just connects. So to my point on convergence, our view is that we would like to work closely here with the various stakeholders of India, within DOT, GRA, and so forth, and see if we can come up with a model that helps, help you achieve the original objectives behind PM1E as well. So how can we actually create millions of hotspots across India for affordable connectivity, and for some of these use cases such as mobile offload? So what I'll talk about here, just a little bit about the adoption rates that we're seeing across Open Roaming. So when it comes to the equipment, the access points, we've been very successful over the last 5 years in certifying a lot of different equipment vendors. So just here in India, for example, we have, I would say, close to 10 different access point vendors such as Indio, such as AirPro, HFCL, Quantum, more recently as well. Our estimate in terms of the enterprise market globally is that 90% of the vendors comply with the Open Roaming standards as an ANP as well, okay? And they're all listed on our website. From a device perspective, it is also very popular across the Android ecosystem. So myself, I carry a Google Pixel device. So whenever I come into the vicinity of an Open Roaming hotspot now, I just connect seamlessly. For Apple, for the iOS devices, then you can download an app, a cert-based approach, and it works that way as well. But again, there are many different ways for devices to connect. It can, as I say, be driven through, we find that enterprises, supermarket chains, and I'm going to share some of these with you in a moment, prefer to connect using their app because they can drive customer engagement through that app. Others prefer device-based, and obviously telcos, mobile operators prefer to use their own mobile SIM credentials as well. We have on our website a crowdsourced map. So whenever an Open Roaming hotspot is detected, it is inputted or inserted onto this map. So you'll see certain clusters across the globe, a lot of white there in places such as Russia, Greenland, and so on as well. But you can see a lot of success in North America, in Europe, certain parts of Asia and Japan. I'm going to share some case studies in a moment as well. But if you are on our website and you click down, you can actually see the locations in question. And just some examples. So in terms of the verticals, it is proving very popular in healthcare, for staff, visitors, and guests. So some of these brands here, Adventist Health and so forth, have Open Roaming deployed. It's quite broad, widely deployed now in retail. So in Europe, there are several supermarket chains that have taken the app-based approach. We have the largest retailer in Australia now, Woolworths, that's deployed. And one of the largest clothing brands globally as well. So Zara, Inditex, owns several brands such as Bershka, are now deploying Open Roaming to every single store. So it's around 5,000 stores globally. So you'll start to see those appear on the map as well. Other ones in North America, Safeway is a supermarket chain. Malls, so it's quite an interesting one there because in this particular instance, Simon Malls has their own identity, their own app, and they've built out Open Roaming throughout their malls in the United States. But there's also another interesting use cases because quite often these malls are quite large, dense buildings, and so the mobile operators don't have signal coverage inside, so they can use the Wi-Fi they would like to offload onto as well. Cities, so very popular. So On the map that I showed earlier, you may have detected that Japan, there's a lot of open roaming hotspots there. So the government in Tokyo, in Osaka, in fact for Osaka 2020 for the Expo, it was deployed. So there's quite rich coverage. I think in Japan in Tokyo, we've reached around 1,500 outdoor access points. So if you go there, you will see it in action. We're looking at some interesting new use cases now for connecting vehicles over those hotspots for vehicle telemetry data to be downloaded directly to the manufacturer as well. Where I'm from in London, this is more of a digital divide issue, but we were finding that certain parts of London are a bit more deprived than others. And for example, people were running out of mobile data about 20 days into the month. So there in Westminster in London, they're providing a free Wi-Fi network in community centres, in libraries, sports centres and so on for people to connect to as well. And a few other London boroughs have started deployed. It's also taking off in other parts of the UK in the north as well. And what else? Dublin City has been there for a while, Luxembourg. Universities, I think one thing that open roaming does do, if you're familiar with EduRoam, is it does work seamlessly with EduRoam as well. So we have, Loughborough in the UK again is it's one of the top 10 universities, very popular for sports, huge facilities as well, leverage private professionals. So even on cruise ships, so usability. If you think about AIDA is owned by Carnival Cruises, so one of the largest or one of the top 3 cruise companies in the world. And they felt that, okay, well, given the sort of demographic of a typical sort of cruise liner passenger in their sort of 50 to 80, the onboarding experience needed to be as easy as possible. So they wanted to connect passenger cruises seamlessly and take out any friction as well. So they've been very happy with open roaming. Okay. I could go on. On our website, again, there are a ton of different use cases. These are just a few that I handpicked, but there are a ton of different use cases, case studies for open roaming throughout different sectors. I think the adoption rates are hugely important. So in Tokyo, if you look at the line graph on the left-hand side, I think in the space of 1 year, it went from 800 users to 7.5 million users. So I think Tokyo's around 14 million population. So we're close to sort of like half those numbers of users. And also the number of profile downloads, people actually downloading a profile. So if you walk around Tokyo, you'll see signs up that advertise Tokyo Free Wi-Fi, which is powered by open roaming. And people can scan a code. Myself, I don't need to because I have a Pixel device and I just log seamlessly straight onto the Wi-Fi network as well. Okay. So just closing remarks. So PM1E and open roaming, I think are perfect partners for creating seamless access. So we're looking to work more closely with DOT and BIF and other organizations that would like to get involved. I think sort of the common goal we have is that basically there's a huge opportunity here in India to connect more unconnected people, 500 million, as I stated earlier this morning, and improve the user experience as well. So with that said, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we would like to open the floor for question and answer after all the presentations are over. With that, we come to the final presentation of this session, and I have the privilege of inviting Ms. Arpita Kanjilal, who's Head of Research and Communications Division, Digital Empowerment Foundation. Let's put our hands together to welcome her, and over to you, ma'am. 10 minutes.
Hi. Thank you so much, Broadband India Forum, for bringing Digital Empowerment Foundation always in spaces where governments, industries are, sitting and listening to the realities of how technology and its policies are actually impacting communities in their real lives. So to start with, Digital Empowerment Foundation is a 24-year-old organization. Our main work has been to bridge digital and information divides in India's last mile which is 65% of India, right? So I would like to talk less and show you a very beautiful docu-film, which is from Uttarakhand. It's a disaster-prone district called Dhaarchula, and we will directly see how communities have taken Wireless for Communities initiative of Digital Empowerment Foundation to enable access to digital services, e-governance services, and also treat it as an entrepreneurship model to get employment in the region. Can I please request organizers to play the docu-film, please?
पहाड़ों में लाइफ इजी नहीं है। छोटी मोटी चीज़ों के लिए ना तरसना पड़ता है। बारिश के टाइम यहाँ पहाड़ गिरने के बहुत सारे चांसेस होते हैं, कईयों की मौत भी हो जाती है इस टाइम।
When we first came here, we identified few things. These are almost like information dark zone. Nobody knows what information they should have to make their life better. And this region is very disaster prone. I'm Nada Fatima. I work with Digital Empowerment Foundation as a program manager.
बचपन से स्ट्रगल देखा है चीज़ों के लिए ना, बहुत खाने पीने से रिलेटेड, एजुकेशन से रिलेटेड, मतलब कंफर्म ही नहीं है कि आगे भी सही होगा। मेरा नाम मानसी सिरखाल है, मैं सिरखा गाँव से हूँ। हम चाहते हैं जहाँ हम रहें वहाँ चीज़ें आए, जो हमने फेस किया ना वो आने वाले लोग ना फेस करें।
Sadly, nobody has come to these regions to solve the issues that is prominent here with the people and the communities. DF as an organization thought, as the initial step, identify 10 different villages which are more prone to disaster, landslides and all of those things, and identify the local people within the villages only who can take up that entrepreneurship responsibility but also act as a medium during disaster.
मेरा नाम आमिर रहमान है। मैं डिजिटल एम्पावरमेंट में एज अ प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर वर्क करता हूँ। डिज़ास्टर का यहाँ पे कुछ फिक्स नहीं है कि कब आ जाए, इतनी बुरी हालत है कनेक्टिविटीज़ की। तो फिर हमने जितने भी पॉसिबिलिटीज़ हम लोग कर सकते थे, हमने वो सारे ट्राई किए हैं। नया रिसर्च करके बनाया कि कैसे इन सारों को आपस में कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं जो कम्युनिकेशन मोड अनब्रेकेबल है। सबसे पहले तो हमने 10 अलग अलग लोकेशंस पे सेंटर अपने स्टार्ट किए हैं। 10 हमने इंटरनेट कहीं से किसी भी अरेंजमेंट्स किया, उसके सेंटर्स पे हमने वो सारी सेटअप्स किए हैं। हमारे पास एक डिवाइस हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया जिसको बोलते हैं हम लोग मोबाइल बूस्टर डिवाइस। तो जहाँ पे अगर मुझे थोड़ा सा भी इंटरनेट मिल जाता है ना, वो उसको बूस्ट कर देता है अपने चिप की वजह से। जहाँ पे हमारे पास कुछ भी नहीं था, नेटवर्क नहीं, कोई ऑप्शंस नहीं, वहाँ पे हम सैटेलाइट इंटरनेट पे गए। जहाँ पे थोड़ा बहुत ऑप्शन था, वहाँ हमने पॉइंट टू पॉइंट लिंक बना के उसको ओवर वायरलेस हमने उसे कनेक्ट कर दिया। अभी हमारे 10 के 10 सेंटर टोटली वायरलेस से कनेक्टेड है। अगर डिजास्टर होता है तो कम्युनिकेशन नहीं टूटनी चाहिए।
हेलो 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 हेलो, आवाज़ आ रही है मेरी? मैं सिन्नापुरा से बोल रही हूँ। सुबह काफ़ी तेज बारिश होने की वजह से रास्ता थोड़ा बंद हो चुका है। सारा मलबा रोड में आ चुका है और पत्थरें भी उड़ रखी है। आप लोग जो भी एक गाड़ी या कोई भी लोग जो इस रास्ते से आ रहे, उन्हें बोले कि 1-2 घंटे तक ना आए।
अब कम्युनिटी को पता चल गया है कि अगर उनको बाहर कहीं कनेक्ट करना है तो वो कहाँ से कर सकते हैं। तो वो तुरंत इन्फॉर्मेशन हमारे सेंटर्स तक पहुँचाते हैं, हमारे सेंटर से वो फ्लो करता है। इस सेंटर से बहुत लोगों को ना अब फ़ायदा मिलता है।
DF की वजह से लोगों को अब एक आशा मिली कि हाँ अब चीज़ें अचीव होंगी। मैं सूचना प्रेमी हूँ, मुझे इस बात की बहुत ज़्यादा खुशी है कि मैं अपने गांव के लिए कुछ कर पा रही हूँ। जो आजकल नई नई चीज़ें हो रही हैं, उस चीज़ के बारे में हम बताते हैं लोगों को। पैन कार्ड, आधार कार्ड, बहुत लोगों को ये चीज़ बनाना है ये भी पता नहीं था।
Those 10 Suchnapreneurs or information agents, they have been trained and groomed in a way from wherein they provide services to the community and they take minimum charges from the community members so that they are able to maintain a revenue for themselves.
सामुदायिक केंद्र में इतनी सुविधा है, मैं यही सुविधा चाहिए। आधार कार्ड बनवाने हैं, जो नया पेंशन बनवाने हैं, पैन कार्ड बनवाने हैं, स्वास्थ्य कार्ड बनवाने हैं, यहाँ तक कि बच्चों का जन्म प्रमाण पत्र।
सबसे पहले तो ये होता था कि कोई भी सूचना हम तक पहुंचने में टाइम लगता था। सेंटर खुला तो हमारी भी बहुत हेल्प होती है। व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप बने हैं, विभाग के ग्रुप बने हैं, तो सूचना जैसे डालते हैं सबके पास पहुंच जाती है। हम काम भी ऐप में कर रहे हैं, जैसे ग्रोथ मॉनिटरिंग करते हैं हम, अब हम ऐप में डालते हैं तो वो खुद ही बता देता है।
तो हमें जो बेस्ट मिला हमने उसको यहाँ पे इम्प्लीमेंट किया और कम्युनिटी भी उसको एक्सेप्ट कर चुकी। बच्चे अब ऑनलाइन जा रहे हैं, उनके पास खुद का फेसबुक इंस्टाग्राम अकाउंट है, वो पूरी दुनिया से कनेक्ट हो रहे हैं, एक्सप्लोर कर रहे हैं चीज़ों को। हमारे आने से एक बहुत चेंजेस कम्युनिटीज़ में भी। बेसिकली इंटरनेट इज़ लाइफ चेंजर फॉर मी।
मुझे खुशी होती है कि अब ये सुनने को नहीं मिलेगा कि मेरे गांव में ये सब नहीं है, मेरे गांव में भी सब चीज़ है।
Thank you. So I have 2 minutes left. So in these 2 minutes, I would like to just share that, see, as you saw, this is a Wireless for Communities initiative that got launched in 2010 by Digital Empowerment Foundation with the support of Internet Society. And this has actually helped shape the PM Vani policy in the country. And we are very proud to share that journey with India's internet coming to the country 30 years back. And we are actually in the 30th year. So Wireless for Communities program trains Suchnapreneurs, information entrepreneurs, who are women or persons with disabilities by design at the heart of our programs, who are trained as barefoot engineers to do network management. Right? And then this program is extremely important because it takes low-cost internet connectivity to areas where ISPs are not going because it's not commercially viable. And these are the areas where we need them the most. So the measure of success or access points being the number of hotspots really won't help us, go the last mile. So I think we should have more, the indicators of success have to be how many people are able to use it, who are able to use it, and is it being used for any socio-economic empowerment? Because as you saw, when there was internet connectivity, because there was a digital ecosystem, an entrepreneurship ecosystem created which could enable them to access services, that's when the purpose of PM Vani or public Wi-Fi or internet is truly sincerely served. So Suchnapreneur program, in fact, with Qualcomm partners, we started in 2006, and it has been a very good World Bank recognized model, which is working in 2,400 plus locations in India's last mile. And we are still in the process of expanding the network because there's a huge need. And for proliferation of public Wi-Fi, we have to think of the most marginalized as in methodology by design. So we are able to actually have an inclusive by design proliferation of public Wi-Fi. I should stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, let's once again put our hands together for all our eminent speakers, for all the 3 wonderful presentations we had. And we do not have much time, but we can take probably 1 question per speaker. Yes, sir. I would request you to kindly identify yourself and the speaker your question is addressed to.
Hello, namaskar. I'm Dr. Jagdish Shivahare, professor and ex-scientist ISRO. My question, how is the implementing strategy for PM Vani in India different than similar type of global public roaming standards in terms of hands of performance, regulatory cost adjustment, and legal responsibility of strict data retention?
Anyone would like to take that question?
So your question is basically in Western countries or in developed countries in comparison to PM1E here. See, in our country, India, we also have free internet through Wi-Fi at airports and so many places. So it is similar to what Western countries have. So they are following the same set of rules and standards what is there in Western countries. When it comes to PM1E, so as Arpita was showing this movie, which is a factual movie of India, we have a very difficult terrains, even roads are not there, basic amenities is not there, basic means people don't have basic facilities, even electricity and this. So how difficult in our country, these challenges in India is quite different than rest of the world. Number one, looking into this, my friend Sarmaji, when he was telling Veom and this, and he was telling this, how it is like next UPI revolution in the same way PM1E is going. But at the same time, at the heart of our national capital aims, PM1E is not there. Point to be noted. If you go to there, so wherever business is there, you will find such type of captive portals and this. But PM1E is for the people, most of the people who don't have even basic amenities. It is for those. To connect unconnected, those who can't afford to have these costly internets. So that is why this scheme was started. So looking into the challenges of our country and Western countries, in our country everybody wants free ration, free medicines, free education, free internet with a limited budget of the government and a limited government machinery. So I think with these lines, you can derive the answer.
Thank you, sir. Very well said. And we can have one last question. That will be the last question, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. My question is to Steve. My name is Debashish Bhattacharya from Broadband India Forum. This is the season of FIFA. I saw a lot of venues covered by open roaming. Are we doing open roaming in any of the FIFA auditoriums in the US? Any of the FIFA amphitheaters connected with open roaming or public Wi-Fi? That's my question to you.
Yeah. So yeah, timely. So actually, we have spoken with FIFA. They're based in Switzerland. So they were doing some research about how to, for example, connect stadiums in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. They actually, from a branding perspective, have control. So even if you look at the stadiums, they were rebranded for some of the football. Like, I was in Dallas, and that's a rebranded stadium from the Dallas Cowboys stadium to whatever it is now as well. But actually, they don't control the connectivity part. Okay. In the United States, in the stadiums, Wi-Fi has been rolled out extensively. So it does exist, and a lot of offload is done within those stadiums as well. So it's already, I think in the case of certainly the US, I'm not sure about Mexico, I'm not sure about Canada, but they are well equipped with Wi-Fi. Extreme Networks is probably the most popular access point vendor. So, for example, they do NFL stadiums, MLB, and ice hockey, the National Ice Hockey League as well. They support open roaming. So, from a network perspective, it's possible. Offload is certainly done, not using open roaming today. We know in the Super Bowl, for example, the SoFi Stadium in LA, a hell of a lot of offload was being done there as well. What we're now working on with folks like Extreme, and in fact we have an interesting project going on in the UK for the National Health Service, is to create the identity provider part. So whilst you have the infrastructure there, it's the yin and the yang, the devices need to connect. So they're developing an identity service that will complement the network as well. So you need both to take full advantage as well. Okay.
Thank you very much indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, with that we come to the close of the session. I would request our session chair to kindly do the honors of presenting mementos as a token of appreciation to our eminent speakers. We present to Ms. Arpita Kanjilan. Thank you, ma'am, for all those enlightening videos we had from you. Wonderful. And we present to Mr. Nikhil Sharma. And may I invite Brigadier Anil Tandon to kindly come up to do the honors of felicitating our distinguished chair, Dr. Pankaj Dalela, Director C. Dot. I think we did the felicitation for Mr. Steve in the inaugural session. Thank you. And may I request everyone to kindly come together in the front for a group photograph, inviting Mr. Debashish Bhattacharya to join in for the group photograph. And ladies and gentlemen, with that we invite everyone to join us for a cup of tea. The tea break is of just 15 minutes. We will go ahead with the proceedings of the next session sharp at 3:30. Thank you. So kindly be seated back in time for the next session, which is a panel discussion and also the concluding session of today's celebrations. Thank you.